You're an agribusiness executive navigating an increasingly competitive market while trying to grow your company. Mergers and acquisitions are pitched as an accelerant to growth, but many M&A deals destroy more value than they create. Welcome to the Pacesetter Pod, where we explore and reveal the perspectives, insights, and approaches for successful mergers and acquisitions. Here's your host, the Integration Pacesetter, Joe Mosier.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pacesetter Pod. As always, I am your host, Joe Mosier, founder and principal advisor of the Mosier Consulting Group, where we work exclusively with leaders of small and middle market food and agribusiness firms to de-risk your strategy and M&A to produce better results in less time and with less disruption. This show is for those of you that are charged with leading growth of your food or agribusiness, particularly through mergers and acquisitions. If that's you, and especially if you're a first time or a first in a long time acquirer, then you're in the right place. I appreciate you joining today. We're going to be talking about what you can do now to get your business fight ready for growth and M&A in the future, whether that is the near-term future or longer term. So first, what do I mean by fight ready? So let's think about strategy. With strategy, if the vision and the objectives are bold enough, then the execution is going to be tough on any organization. Sure, a bold strategy is exciting. It's going to provide a rallying cry that's going to motivate much of your team. It's going to give people energy. It's going to get them excited, but it's also going to be taxing nonetheless. The bigger the strategy, the more demanding it becomes. And integrating two companies together to create one new entity that didn't exist before the deal happens is even more demanding yet. But there is a way that you can lessen that impact. There's a way that you can reduce the downsides associated with M&A. And there's a way that you can shorten the time to value from when the deal closes until you start to realize the value creation flowing from the deal that you'd hoped for in the first place. As we've discussed in previous episodes of this podcast, integration is about a lot of things. It's about your customers. It's about your services and products. It's about your people. It's about culture, systems, and technology. But when we stop for a second and we ask ourselves, what is it that underlies all these aspects of your business? What is it that underlies, say, how you hire, motivate, and promote your people? Or maybe how you design and produce or sell and ship your products? How you maybe sustain your customer-facing operations and how you sustain the back office systems of your business. All of these things underlying them are about process. And more specifically, your understanding and alignment and adherence to those processes is what sets you apart and enables your business to run smoothly. Acquirers that I work with are generally surprised by what the M&A integration efforts uncover. And I think about this as a very uncomfortable look in the mirror. Executing big strategy, and particularly mergers and acquisitions, is going to lay bare all of the strengths and all of the weaknesses in how you run your business and how you run your projects and how you pursue growth. So think of M&A, particularly the M&A integration activities, as a process stress test. It's going to highlight all the opportunities that you knew were there, and it's going to expose all the other vulnerabilities that you maybe didn't expect or didn't yet have to reckon with. Any of those fractures, any of those fault lines, anything that was there that was a pre-existing condition is going to come to the surface in a very real and meaningful and visible way during integration. So at the Mosier Consulting Group, we work with clients when they're executing M&A integrations using our integration pacesetter methodology. And early in those engagements, as part of Integration Pacesetter, we spend a lot of time in process discovery and in process analysis. And so today, I'm not going to be going through all the details of our process discovery and analysis approach, but I do want to share the reasons that this is so important to preparing for a successful integration. And in fact, it's not only really important for integrations. Potential buyers are well served by looking at their processes in a structured way to get ready for growth. You cannot really reduce the complexity of an integration once things are in flight, but you can reduce the complexity that you introduce to the work by having your own process house in order. And for potential sellers, The upside is even more promising. Businesses with clearly defined processes, so these are processes that are documented and can be demonstrated to be in use, consistently earn higher valuations at exit. So a buyer, of course, is going to be very interested in what your trailing, say, 24 or 36-month earnings and performance has been. That's a very real and significant input into business valuations. But it's also going to be about the strength of your process and that muscle that builds confidence in a buyer that those results that you've realized over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years can be repeated in the future. That they are structural capabilities in your business that produce results, and they're not episodic one-offs that were the reflection of the right opportunity or the right time and the right people. All these things that are subject to change. So put another way, when you're in the midst of an M&A deal, or you're considering being a buyer or a seller, strong process is a great way to improve your company's performance and fundamentally de-risk your transaction. So let's jump in and talk about the 3 big reasons why process is so important. The first is that process brings clarity to what it is you're exactly integrating to. It is hard to know how and where to, let's say, apply a weld if you're not sure of the size or the shape or the material types of the metals you're trying to fuse together. And integrating processes is really no different. To integrate processes, first you need to have them. So I've worked on a number of deals where we're actually designing business processes in flight due to the fact that nothing formal was in place when we got started. So this is not to suggest that the clients did not have any processes in place. It's just that they did not have the process. And it is impossible to skip past the step of aligning on how you do XYZ when your goal is integration. So whether that is integrating your payables process or performing inventory counts or supplier selection or position management, whatever it is, you have to know what your process is before you can perform integration efficiently. So in these cases where the clients didn't have a single uniform process for some of their key activities in place prior to the work we did together, the good news is that the clients always ended up with a process at the end. The bad news is that this was about the worst time you could imagine to design processes or to realize that you needed one. It's the most costly, it's the most time consuming. And what's really particularly tragic is that while you're focusing on designing processes and not necessarily integrating processes, you're cannibalizing precious effort, time, and energy that could be focused elsewhere to greater impact. So having a clear set of processes in place for the core aspects of your business reduces the complexity you bring to the deal, as we said earlier. And it drives a reduction in complexity that really shortens the time to value. So let's use an example here. Let's say you have a procedure for evaluating, approving, and managing counterparty credit before your integration. That is going to accelerate the work of bringing both companies onto a single process because it provides a baseline that you can build upon. And when you have the baseline, now you can go faster. And if you have those processes in place, one of the other ways it helps you go faster is that you can do a comparative analysis of your process to that of the targets. I hesitate to ever use the term taking the best of both because I believe it's overused in the M&A world, and frankly, it rarely occurs. But within the context of integrating processes, being able to look at 2 clear options side by side from the acquiring company and the acquired company, looking at those side by side opens up all sorts of interesting possibilities. So the second point is that process will enable prioritization. Early on in our work on buy-side transaction support, we work with our clients to develop their minimum viable integration, or MVI. And if that's not familiar to you, we're not going to go through it in detail today, but I would encourage you to go back and listen to episode 4, which was dedicated exclusively to that subject. The impact of your minimum viable integration is increased exponentially when you can use it to identify integration priorities. And when you identify your integration priorities, if you then have established processes already in place, everything starts to move a lot faster. So again, for example, let's say you're a grain originator who also offers risk management solutions to growers. And your MVI points out that offering these same sophisticated, structured risk management products to a new set of growers following the acquisition is a key part of the deal. If you've got that process in place, you're in a much better position to know exactly how to manage grower information, how to determine which risk management solution is right for a particular grower, how to assess what solutions growers that might fit the profile of these particular customers have leveraged in the past, what the performance of those products have been for them. And even better yet, if your target has a documented process or a CRM workflow to bring to the deal, you now can take what was a core capability from your business that's built into your MVI and see if you could even potentially improve it because you now are looking at a specific documented flow from the target company. It's very hard to offer assurance and build confidence that this aspect of your integration is going to be handled in the absence of any baseline information. And so you can establish your MVI, again, your minimum viable integration, without a clear view of your core business processes. But best case scenario, the impact of your MVI is going to be muted compared to organizations that have strong processes in place.
Poorly executed mergers and acquisitions destroy more value than they create. They can set your company back years. To defend your firm's position in the marketplace, you need access to the leading practices that unlock the greater potential of your people, processes, and systems. If you are undertaking a company transformation or pursuing an acquisition as a vehicle to grow, set up a call with Joe by visiting www.moshercg.com.
And the third and final point today is that process clarity unlocks potential. And there's a few things to unpack here. I look at businesses that are running well, but that don't seem to have clear processes in place. And I think one of two things, sometimes both. First, if they're doing so well without process, how much value are they leaving on the table? What else might be possible? If you can cobble together these kinds of results with processes that just live between people's ears, and nothing is written down, and there's no formal opportunity to iterate and improve upon them, what else could we do? Those great results from last year, how much greater might they have been? The second question I think about is, if these companies don't have processes, then it really must be residing exclusively with the people. And what happens if those people leave? People are going to change jobs. People are going to get promoted. People are going to pursue opportunities elsewhere. People are going to retire. And if you have your processes tethered to the people that do them, where in fact the people doing them are the processes themselves, you are taking on significant risk in your business. And so this is what I mean by unlocking potential. Establishing clear processes, regardless of whether you're pursuing a merger or an acquisition, is going to allow you to tap into a deeper pool of potential for your business. And this is the potential to perform at a higher level with the people you have. And it's the potential to de-risk your business by having processes in place if those same people were no longer there. And at this point of talking about unlocking potential, I think it's important that we get a little more specific. So let's talk about how unlocking potential occurs through three lenses. Through the lens of eliminating waste, through augmenting work, and through creating more value-added creativity in your business. So the first one is that process clarity, in my mind, enables improvement. It's very hard and perhaps even impossible to remove waste from your system or really optimize work if you don't have an underlying process to work from. I just don't know how you do it. The second is that process clarity will point you to opportunities to augment work. In the agribusiness and food space, we've seen really aggressive trends of automation and digitalization of work, but we're still rich and ripe with opportunities to do that at scale. There's seemingly an infinite number of ways that you could leverage technology or adopt automation to change the way work is done in your company. But it's almost impossible to apply tech or to adopt automation if you do not have an aligned view on how work is done today. So what do I mean? Augmentation can be anything from writing a simple script that's going to scrape your OpenAR position and send customized messages to customers with past due balances. It could also be things more robust like capital intensive investments in production upgrades like robotic pallet builders and palletizers, or even a fully automated grain receiving process at a country elevator. These are the ways that you can drive efficiency and improvement in your business once you have process in place. And the third and final part is that process clarity creates capacity for your people. It ensures that they're focusing their creativity where it adds value to your business. One of the common gripes I hear and the pushback I encounter is when people say, quote unquote, all this talk about process is really about dehumanizing our work and taking the fun out of it. And I guess if you take it to an extreme, that could be true. But when I look at process, I focus on the work that benefits from being made into a repeatable set of steps, from the work that is important to be decoupled from a specific person doing it. I'm talking about potentially how position limits are assigned and entered into a system, how they're managed and how they're periodically evaluated. Maybe it's how inventory counts are conducted, how job positions are posted to your website and to multiple external sites, how contracts are entered into your system, or how dockage is applied, or how farmer settlements might be issued. There's a lot of processes in your business where you don't really want your people getting creative and coming up with new and novel ways to do it. You don't necessarily want your people getting creative and coming up with new grain contracts as they talk with a grower. You don't want your people getting creative and one-off when they perform QA on finished feed product that's being sent to a customer. I don't necessarily want people being creative in storing packaging in every warehouse in a different way, or getting too creative in how we assess counterparty credit risk. If there's a great idea, it should be raised and incorporated, but underlying these types of activities, there should be a single process in place. You want your people to apply their curiosity and creativity to solving complex problems that emerge. And this is things like, how do we maybe use our distributors' cold storage network more efficiently so we could stockpile finished goods before a big holiday weekend? Or how can we find a way to, in the near term, clean more dirty seed in-house so we can capture a market opportunity and not have to give the margin to a processor by sending it off-site? Or classic example, how do we find a way to loan a bean shuttle with a great trading margin this week, even though we've set the house up for corn and a train that's arriving in 5 days? You establish processes for the things that are routine and that you want them to be predictable. And you save the creativity for the unexpected and for the opportunities that require agility. And all of these benefits of process create value in normal times, and they generate really rich dividends during an integration. It is never too soon to get your process house in order. So let's recap what we've covered today. A company with strong process is going to be better equipped to win at the games of both growth and M&A. And this is true for both buyers and sellers. Better process allows you to know what it is you're attempting to integrate to. It enables prioritization, and it unlocks potential. So we did not get into the specifics today of the exact steps that we take clients through related to process when we're applying our integration pacesetter methodology. But that work does move companies forward on all the elements that we talked about today. It gets you fight ready as a buyer looking for efficiency and integration. It's getting you fight ready as a seller looking for let's say a favorable valuation at the point of exit. It's going to help you produce a single unified view of all the processes that it takes to run your business. And when you have that single unified view, that's going to enable alignment among your leadership team and your departments. And finally, all this work, really, the summation is that it gives the leadership the confidence that comes with knowing not just what your processes are, but also where you are strong and where you're exposed. It provides a pathway to know where can we invest within the work that we do within the four walls of our business. They're going to help make us more sustainable, more reliable, more effective, and ultimately more profitable. So if you want to learn more about these tools, or if you want to learn about Integration Pacesetter specifically, I encourage you to visit our website to set up a call. So I hope this has stirred some new thinking for you today and caused some points of reflection. For those of you who have maybe experienced the acute pain with how many times I've said process today, I don't know the number, but it's probably pushing 100. For those of you that felt that pain, I find that discussions of process usually hurt the most when you don't have it. So if this caused some discomfort, some agitation, some heartburn, it might mean you have some process work to do. So please join us in the next episode where we're going to be digging in more specifically to the integration life cycle, into integration schedules and the duration. Integrations don't go on forever. Sometimes they just feel that way. And we're going to be talking about why that is, what to expect, and what you can do about it to more effectively manage your integration. So thank you again for joining this episode of the Pace Setter Pod. I'd invite you to follow me, Joe Mosier, and the Mosier Consulting Group on LinkedIn, where you'll see that we regularly post ideas and observations and reflections that are meant to help you win at executing strategy and M&A in your agribusiness. And of course, I encourage you to hit subscribe on your podcast player so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And if you like what you heard, we'd love it if you left us a review. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a safe day.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.